Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest, he's an actor and a very good one at that. He's been in Dexter, Get Rich or Die Tryin. He was in the Biggie Smalls movies, Little C's. Losing Isaiah, he was Isaiah. And we actually worked on something together many years ago, a couple of things. Jersey was one of the projects, and also we worked on, it was the Fifth Borough, correct?
Fifth Borough, yep.
Yeah, so thank you, man. Thank you for
Definitely,
coming
brother.
in.
Thanks,
Marky
Mark. Look at it.
Man. Pleasure to have you, my brother.
Pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir.
So, how did this journey start for you? What made you want to be an actor?
So that's the funny thing. I never wanted to be an actor. That it wasn't anything that I chose. My father was a photographer.
Okay.
And he was on an American Express ad, and the baby that they had for the shoot got sick the day before the shoot. So his partner on the shoot was like, what are we gonna do? We need a baby. We can't recast it. What are we gonna do? And he was like, yo, don't you got a son? My father was like, but he black. The mother in the shoot is white. How we gonna, he light skinned. He's like 2-3 weeks. I was 2-3 weeks old. Wow. They used me for the shoot. His partner told him he should get me with a Ford modeling agency. I started modeling.
Ford?
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the OG modeling agencies back in the day.
There was Ford and there was Click.
Okay.
I remember Click?
No.
My brother was with Click.
Was it Click?
Now Ford definitely made it to
Ford and Click were the biggest at that time. Go ahead.
And my first audition for a commercial was Canon Camera Zoom Max. I was like 2. First audition for a movie was Losing Isaiah. I was 3.
Wow.
And I booked it, man. They had me audition like 8-9 times. Had my parents fly out with me. So the directors, the producers, Halle, because they couldn't believe that at that age I was able to deal with the dialogue and stuff like that. So
where you from originally?
I'm from the Bronx. The Boogie Town, Highbridge, baby.
Highbridge, what up?
I want to ask him about Halle Berry, but you don't remember her, right?
I remember her.
But I'm saying at 3 years old, you still have some recollection of,
I have small memories, and I don't know if it's because I actually remember or it's just like, I got 2 memories that I actually remember. I got the day we rapped, Halle Berry and Jessica Lange each gave me gifts.
You were 3 years old?
I was 3.
Whoa.
I was 3.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I was 3. I turned 4 during the shooting process towards the end, but I was 3. I was 4 when we finished, and the movie came out when I was 5. Yeah.
So, obviously, these years in your life as a kid, this is when we start school.
Yeah.
3rd grade, 4th grade, pre-K, and then kindergarten.
Yup.
So obviously you were making films and doing that, and that, and you kind of got to do that because I always thought school will always be there, but these opportunities may not, so I got to take them. How was that? Do you even remember how that was dealing with having to, continue your education? Because I'm sure they had tutors for you on set and stuff like that. Do you have any recollection of that?
Oh yeah, for sure. My mom is an educator, so she didn't play with
it sounds like you got good parents.
And my dad was worse than my mom when it came to hitting the book. So I went to a school called TAG in Harlem, off 109th and Lexington. And I went there until the 2nd grade. So I actually went to the school. My parents made sure that my work didn't really get in the way with, my schooling. And then after the 2nd grade, I was no longer able to manage the 2. So I started homeschooling, and of course they got the tutors on set. But that was my pop's thing. After set, learning lines at the hotel, wherever we was, it was, we doing this long-term division. I remember I was 7 years old, and he was teaching me long-term division and stuff like that. When I was in TAG, the math teacher for the 5th grade used to come downstairs when I was in the 2nd grade, bring me to her class, and have me demonstrate long-term division, fractions, multiplication, all of this stuff to the 5th graders. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the Bronx?
Nah, the school was in
Lexington. Lexington, yeah.
Yup.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. So my parents did not play when
they raised a good one. They raised a good one.
Well, they knew you needed something to fall back on.
Yeah.
This industry's it's feast or famine. You know how it is. You work 2-3 months, or you get a 6-month gig, and then you're out of work for a year. Yeah. So this is why you need to have something to fall back on. So your dad was very smart.
And I think too, people, it's so many different things that people say about education, but what education really does for you at a young age is it teaches you how to learn stuff.
Yes.
People get a certain age and they stop learning. They're just ready to accept whatever somebody's telling them.
Yeah.
And it's like when you work in certain industries, you need to know. You got to learn how to do certain things. You can never stop learning. But because you can get killed. Like taxes. I have friends that do projects, and then 40% of what they make after the agent and the manager gets a cut is going to taxes. And I'm like, why didn't you just form a corporation, have it paid to your corporation? Because then all of your expenses for the shoot, for your living, all of that, you are a business. Write it off. So now you're not paying taxes on, say you made $100,000, you're not paying $40,000 in taxes. You claim $50,000 in expenses, you paying the taxes on that 50,000 left. Like,
because
I don't know how to do that.
You got an agent and a manager. What does your agent get? What does your manager? That's 10. That's 20% right off the bat. Right?
They each get 10. Yep.
All right, so think about that.
But most managers get like 15 now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And usually, sometimes they'll take a little mercy on you because they know you got an agent also. So they're like, all right, we're not going to take 15 because that's already 25%, and then you're going to pay another over 30% for taxes. So half of your money, more than half of your money is gone. So you got to be LLC'd up.
Yeah.
It's a must. It's an absolute must. But like,
hold on, I got a question.
Go ahead, sure.
How was it growing up in the Bronx? Because I'm from the Bronx, and not a lot of people get to make it out. They don't think they can become actors. They don't think they can go to Hollywood. What was your process, and how did you do it? Because I'm from the Bronx. Yeah. And we was doing a lot of playing, 18, 19 years old, outside. Yeah. And it sounds like you've been in the mix since 2 weeks old type shit.
Yeah. I mean, so this is the thing that I feel like people misunderstand about the hood. It's good people everywhere you go. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's nonsense everywhere you go. And you got to be able to identify, filter which is which, and surround yourself with the good people. Yeah. So like growing up in the Bronx, my father, he was all over the place. He's a people person. So after school, we was going and chilling in his friend photography company or a print shop that his friend used to work at. We were going and chilling in there, Burnside, for 2-3 hours. I'm in there watching them develop and process film as they talking about Puerto Rico and DR and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, the Bronx was dope because one thing, it taught me humility. You know, it taught me that there's people that you see every day and they're smart, educated, have a lot that they can do in their lives, but they never really had the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So you start understanding people on a deeper level. And it also just taught me to appreciate my blessings, you know, because there's people out there that would love to be in our spot. Yeah. There's people right now that would love to just be sitting in this room. Absolutely. And sometimes when it becomes your norm, you start taking it for granted, you know? But then when your friend that you chilling with every day, it's like, yo, bro, you got $4 so I could get like a bacon and cheese in the morning for me and my little sister. Absolutely. And it's like, dang, I play ball with you every day. I never knew that. You know, you never know a person's struggle. And I think when you grow up in certain neighborhoods, it can remove you from that and you start taking things for granted. And that's how people become big-headed because now you start developing a sense of entitlement. I'm supposed to have this. Yeah. Oh, what? 2,000 on some Amiris? That's easy. That's light. But there's dudes that can't afford $30 jeans, you know? And then you doing that and you going back to the hood, walking around with these dudes, like, what do you think? How do you think they feel? You know what I'm saying? So it kept me grounded. It kept me humble. I took the train here. I'm a real New Yorker, I took the train here. You know, I'm a real New Yorker. And it's like, I think a lot of people, they get into the industry and they start living their life in a way that they feel they have to. Yeah. But the beauty of doing what we do is you get to live the way you want to. You have that freedom and that ability and the things that my parents instilled at me at a young age. It just makes me, you know, appreciate everything I have.
How your parents now?
They good.
They sound like some real good. Yeah. We need to get them on the podcast.
You know, let me ask you this, right? You know how they said you could take a kid out of the Bronx, but you can't take a Bronx out of a kid. So some of what you've learned and what has been instilled in you from growing up in the Bronx, you know, it's still in you. This is who you are. Would you say that growing up in the Bronx is, you know, and just the way about it, would you say that is something that you incorporated in your acting style? Piece, you know, maybe takeaways from being from the Bronx. Would you say you ever use that as a competitive advantage over other actors? Because it is a rough place to grow up, and you know, it's a place you grow up with hunger. You know what I mean? It's not, you know, like there's a lot of poverty, and and would you say that being that it was that way, that it gave you that extra hunger to want to succeed as an actor, more like give you that more drive?
Nah, I can't really say that.
Okay.
I never struggled, you know, even though I'm from the Bronx and I grew up in the Bronx, I never struggled, but I experienced struggle firsthand from friends and family members.
Okay.
So it didn't really give me a drive. Man, I didn't even realize that I was an actor, what I really did until I worked on the Haunted Mansion. And Eddie Murphy kind of put it in perspective for me where he told me, you're a professional. When you come to set, you got to be a professional. You're here to work. You know, this is your job. And of course, you can have fun. You can play and everything like that. But understand that you got a responsibility, right? So that's when I started to really see acting as that. Before that, it was just something I did, you know? But growing up in the Bronx definitely helped me in my acting because it gives you a different vantage points on like characters that are hood, like Q-Dubs from Power. You know, when I played Q-Dubs, when I auditioned for that, I was thinking of people that I actually knew, dudes that I grew up with. You know what I'm saying? That this is how they were, this is their life. You know, that he wouldn't say that. That's not how he gonna express that.
Right.
Understanding the subtleties of like why I'm doing this. A lot of people think that dudes in the streets just want to be in the streets. Some of them, that's true, but a lot of them, that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? So
they have to be there.
They have to be there.
Yeah.
So when you connect to that, you get to perform from a different space. So all of those things have helped me, but I would never say that my experience in the Bronx made me hungry because my family did a great job at keeping me shielded from the nonsense. Like it was even crazy things that I saw that never affected me. Like one night, my pops and I, we came in for playing ball. I was like 15, 16.
You nice?
I hoop.
You hoop?
I hoop. That's all I, you know what I'm saying?
You nice.
Everybody say they nice, but some nice dudes are trash compared to some.
They
some
come with the
other
nice
dude,
clothes.
You know what I'm saying?
Nice clothes.
You know what I'm saying?
You have
Am
a
I
bowl
nice
with Mello?
compared to like,
You have a bowl with Mello, his son?
I never got the chance to bowl with Mello. I know Mello. Met Mello a couple of times. Events and all of that. Never got the chance to bowl with him though.
Yeah.
But I've bowled with some. I've never played against the NBA player, but I've bowled with like G League dudes. I bowled with a lot of players that play. Oh no, I'm capping.
Yeah.
Smush Parker.
You seem humble. Like, come on, man. You outside.
Yeah, I'm alright. I hoop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I hoop. If you just play ball recreationally, you can't guard me. You say that to the camera. If you play ball recreationally and you see me walk in the gym, guard the other guy. Don't guard me.
Don't fuck with him.
Now, if you overseas D1, you know what I'm saying?
Guard up.
I'm coming at you.
A run
you
for
know what I'm
your
saying?
money.
But I might not be nice to you. So it's levels to this. I understand that
Do
on
you
every
still
level.
live in the Bronx?
No, I don't.
What
I don't live in the Bronx. I still go. I went to the Bronx like, what was that? Tuesday? 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Get my African food, you know?
Exactly.
Had to go get my
Still
African
have
food.
family there and friends and people that you
A lot of my friends don't live in the Bronx anymore. Harlem, Brooklyn.
Atlanta.
Atlanta became a hot spot.
Yeah,
a lot of people started moving to Atlanta.
I'm in Port St. Lucie. It's beautiful out there, bro.
Atlanta?
No,
in Florida.
Florida, yeah.
Okay, that's dope.
No
Yeah.
culture.
No.
Well, a lot
For
of
real?
these,
Beautiful.
like a place like Atlanta, I think they're doing a lot of productions down in
Yeah,
Atlanta.
they started, yup.
Well, they do. It's because they give a tax credit.
Mm-hmm.
They give a tax credit, so you're saving a lot of money.
Yeah.
They're encouraging that kind of stuff to come to where
Mm-hmm.
they are. Louisiana was big at one
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
50 got some shit out there that's...
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they give tax credits.
Liverpool.
Like Canada as a country,
Mm-hmm.
the whole country. See, here it varies by state and cities that give tax credits, but up in Canada, it's the whole country.
Yep.
So literally, the bottom line, you're saving like millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of these productions go up to Canada. I mean, they keep the camera tight,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll be in Toronto and they'll be shooting like it's New York.
Yep.
And you got big.
We shot Get
buildings.
Rich in Canada.
Yeah.
We shot 4 months of Get Rich or Die Tryin in Canada. We only shot like 3 weeks in New York.
Yeah, they probably saved millions of dollars.
Can I tell you
and
something?
all that money that they saved, they put into the post and print and advertising.
Marketing.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And but nowadays, like a lot of that is cut out because now you got social media.
Yeah.
You got a guy like 50 Cent, right? Where back in the day you had to pay a publicist and try to get publicity for the film. But now it's like you're your own publicist,
Yeah.
and you can control it the way you want through
Social
social
media
media.
has changed the
50
game.
Cent's got 30 million followers. Who's he got to go pay? I got 30 million people watching every little post that I do. I got this new film coming out. I'm going to post it. And even if half of my people see that, and it's coming right from the horse's mouth. You know, how was your experience with 50 Cent?
Oh, it was dope.
Yeah.
50's a dope dude, man. Very smart, very humble. He loves to teach.
How old was you when you was rocking with him?
I met 50. I was 15.
15. You was already
Either
like
14
20.
or
You was like
15.
21 already though, with your pops now,
Yeah.
your mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yup.
So you,
So did you know him prior?
No.
Oh, so you just got the audition. You had an agent manager, right? And they said,
Yeah.
hey, Mark, we got you this audition.
Yeah.
Forget Richard Die Tryin. Did you hear about the project? Or?
I didn't know who 50 Cent was. I did
Oh.
not, bro. I had no idea. Like when I say my parents, my pops specifically, made sure that
Yeah.
I was raised a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, so like I grew up on country music.
yeah.
I was the dude listening
What's
to
your
like
sign?
In Sync. Huh?
What's your sign?
I'm a May baby.
May. How about your pops? Because you said he was
October.
October. He's not a
Yeah.
Scorpio?
I don't know.
What is-
I don't go
what
by
is May?
signs.
What day?
May?
Yeah, what is it?
May 16th.
No, but I'm saying, what's that sign? What was it? Is it Cancer?
I don't think they rocking with
I
signs.
don't know the signs like that.
So
That
what's
new
your
age
pop's
stuff, I
day?
don't-
What's your pop's day?
October 2nd.
Okay, he's Leo, I think, right? Leo or Libra, one of the L's.
Well, I'm August 30th, which Virgo just started like August 22nd. So right
Okay.
before that's Libra, right? Or I don't even know.
I don't know.
You got
I
kids?
don't know. Yeah.
You do?
I got a son.
Okay.
I got a
How
son,
old is he?
Liam, 7.
Okay, okay.
Yo.
So you got the
Yes,
wedding
sir,
band
son.
on too. You're
That's
a married
what's up.
man?
Yes,
You got
sir.
a Puerto Rican wife,
Nah,
man. How'd you keep it?
Nah,
Dr.
nah,
Umar,
nah.
pay attention. How'd you keep it? How'd you keep it? How'd you keep it? It's all love though. I love black women.
Yeah,
I'm an
yeah.
ebony lover.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I got, you know,
She's ebony? Latina?
Caribbean.
Okay, oh, island.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say which one.
Yeah, respect,
you know,
respect. That's
Caribbean.
what's up, man.
She's a mystery, you know.
Yeah.
I'm on
Yeah,
my
you be-
Batman
you-
status.
You humble and like now that I'm really replaying everything and
Yeah.
you a humble guy, man.
I appreciate it.
You-
Word.
and then you well spoken too, man. Shouts to your
appreciate
parents,
it.
man.
Thank
I
you.
definitely
You
want to
did a
get
great
them up
job,
here.
bro.
Great
Yeah.
job, brother.
Good
Trust me,
luck.
because I know what it is, bro. I just left the Bronx I've been in Florida 3 years. I'm about to be 42 in 2 weeks.
Oh, dope.
Yeah, so I probably left the Bronx when I was 38. I was struggling
Okay.
with addiction like a motherfucker. I probably
Yeah.
had 10 bands left to my name. And my wife had this friend in Port St. Lucie, Florida. She's like, yo, I just bought a house. I'm cool with the landlord. Y'all could let me put the word in for y'all.
Yeah.
The landlord reached out. We got the crib. You know what I mean? And I went out there with my last 10 bands in a BMW. That shit broke down probably 2 days
Dang.
when I got there.
Yeah.
So we was already in the red. Like,
Yeah.
we need a car. Like, this is it. But we got to pop it, man.
That's
You know
dope.
what I mean? We got to pop it. And I've been clean almost 3 years now.
That's
No,
dope.
I've been out there 3 years. You know what I mean?
Word.
3 years and a half.
That's
type
great,
shit.
bro. For real.
So it changed my life because
Yeah.
the opiates is literally taking over the Bronx, New York, everything,
Everywhere. Yeah,
everywhere.
everywhere.
This shit's been going on, but
Yeah.
now they got the fake pills, because they cut the doctors off. The doctors gotta go, because the doctors is just out here feeding everybody.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
can't.
they can't. So they got to protect that license. So the doctor's like, yo, I got to refer you to pain management. So now pain management is a drug dealer. And he gives you what he wants. You can't persuade your doctor no more. That's how easy it
Okay.
was. I tasted one time. That shit had me hooked by the balls. Authentic yellow. You know what I mean? Had me by the balls already.
Yeah.
But I did it to fuck. I did it to chill, party, one.
Yeah.
It started with one. And then one became 30 a day. Word.
Yeah, that's
and
what
then
I-
and then these shits wasn't around like that. Once your homie got the script and he got that bottle,
Yeah.
you got a cop, whatever. That's when I got, like, in 2014, I kind of made it huge on Instagram.
Yeah.
But I didn't take advantage, but that's a story for another day. But I became huge on that shit. And bro, I was getting 15, 2,000 to go to strip clubs and party with all the whores I wanted.
Wow.
And I'm like, yo, nah, I can fuck with y'all for real. What's poppin'?
Yeah.
I was going crazy. I'm doing drugs, fucking whores, smacking bitches in the head, like really going in on some on some Nicki Sixx from Motley Crue type shit. I never injected, I never sniffed. I used to just eat. Yeah. But it destroyed me. It destroyed my family. I embarrassed my family. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm out here trying to break.
You embarrassed yourself more than your family.
Off rip. Everybody was turned off. Cardi was my peoples. Cardi B. I was sick of everybody. It was my fault that I was going through what I was going through because I was on drugs. I'm like, yo, nobody fucks with me no more because I was that nigga. Yeah. You want to repost? You want to do a video? Yeah. You want to get introduced to the Instagram world? Loopy Blogger was the guy. Not, you know what I mean? There's a lot of funny shit going on right now. Yeah. Shouts to everybody, but I was the guy. Niggas, real motherfuckers will tell you. Real motherfuckers will tell you. This nigga was that nigga. 15 seconds, Loopy did it. So we got it popping. I became friends with everybody. Cardi B ended up blowing up. And I became bitter because I was just worried about using drugs, bro. I never experienced some type of fame like that. It was crazy, bro. Yeah. I got Nick players sending me tickets, Kyrie Irving's fucking with me, saying my slogans. Like, it was crazy.
So let me ask you a question, right? Because obviously this just like kind of happened overnight. Yeah. Like an overnight sensation.
No, but I was already cooking Twitter and YouTube. I was cooking. I was viral on World Star when it was on the computer.
Yeah. Do you think that, you know, like, just the fact that you got and became so big on social media, obviously, the bigger you got, the more of a reputation that you had to uphold, right? Do you feel that maybe there was some pressure in that and that caused you to get, like, do more and more?
My brother, it didn't even get to that level. I was just lit. And I'm a people person, so I don't really care. Look, I got a missing tooth. I had a seizure in the bathtub. I lost my tooth.
You gotta see how it sounds when he puts it in.
I got a flipper and all that, but I talk my tongue and it make me sound crazy. I take it off in the Jadakiss show. So I'm like, fuck it. This is me. You know what I mean? I'm not hiding from nobody. I got the D'Agostino ballroom anyway. Yeah. It's in the Gucci bag over there.
No, go ahead.
Oh yeah. There it is. You know what I mean? But I'm not shy about it. At the end of the day, whether I have a tooth there or not, this is me. What comes out of my mouth type shit is what's popping. So, like, I'm not worried about none of that shit.
I think we got the tooth.
Let me see. I think I left it home. Let's see the famous tooth.
Yeah. If you see something.
Yeah, I left it home. I got this Eurogonda though. This shit, it is what it is, man. TikTok, holla at y'all. There's some oil pulling. There's the cinnamon flavor, bruh.
What is that?
Listerine never stood a chance.
It's like your breath.
And this is it don't have none of that alcohol that Listerine got. Some real Indian,
I heard that Listerine and all that wasn't good for you,
brother. I don't know if that's true. When I was in detox back in the day, motherfuckers was having parties with Listerine.
Oh, that's crazy.
Drinking it like animals.
Drinking Listerine.
You know who used to?
It's not allowed in rehab.
You know who used to like the Listerine? He swore by it. Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Robert De Niro. He used to drink so much espresso. Came to my house one time. He was there for like an hour. He drank like 6 espressos. My mother couldn't believe it, but he always had the Listerine.
Dang.
So let me like we're talking about.
Hold on. Let me just finish this real quick. Let me just finish. So I don't even know where I was going with this, but and I'm gonna just bring it back to your parents. You know what I'm saying? Because. Like I used to sell crack when I was younger, coke. I had a coke, I used to sell weed and whatever. Yeah. Maybe if I would have had some good, stable parents, I would have never took that route, you know? Mm-hmm. But I always been lit, whether it was doing what I do or whatever. But shouts to your parents, man. And look, cause I achieved success. Like I was always lit, but when social media came into play, it was a fucking whole different ballgame. Yeah. Like I said, I was already working YouTube and I was already working Twitter. I'm fucking talking about 09. ASAP Rocky was fucking me. I don't even want to bring his name up, but Diddy was reposting me and fucking me in 09. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it was lit. We had that shit jumping. Then I fucking hit World Star, blah, 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 blah. And maybe if I would have had some good parents that was on deck, that didn't have to work all the time, I would have knew how to handle the fame, the money, the booking, the agents. I never had none of that shit. Yeah. I didn't have PR, bro. I was so viral, I was just going crazy, taking money from everywhere. Yeah. I was making a little 15 bands a day, 13 bands a day, just walking through shit, and all I was doing.
Yeah. You know, that's where we, you know.
But you know, this the funny thing about that, right? Because, like, I say that what you're exposed to, kind of your circumstances, it dictates who you are and who you become. And a lot of older dudes, older people, whether from the hood, whatever, that have influence don't realize the power of your influence. Yeah. You know, like there's a young kid somewhere looking up to you that you can share something with that can help them. It doesn't always need to be the parent, you know, or the mom and the dad. Sometimes it could just be that role model.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize you know what I'm saying? We lack that.
Well, yeah, if you got a platform,
they don't realize their responsibility.
Right,
you know, of just
it's an obligation and a responsibility.
So, and I say that because I have friends, right? And it's like some of them still in the street, some of them just not all there as far as they haven't grown up yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, you got young dudes that's looking up to you. Teach them something that's gonna help them. You know, teach them something that's gonna help to make them better, because it will help us avoid certain situations. My pops used to always say, like, you don't have to touch the stove to know that it's hot. You can learn your lesson through somebody that told you, right? Or you don't have to experience certain things in order to understand the consequences of it. And I feel like nowadays with like information is so accessible that young people don't want to be told anything. They don't want to be told. They feel like they know.
They know. I'm going through my son right now.
And it's like, yo, you don't know. You can learn so much more. If I've done this for 10, 15, 20 years, I can tell you, and you can save that heartache. You can save that, but they don't, you know? So if you young and you watching this, man, find yourself a role model. Somebody that can teach you. Somebody that's leaving you with positivity. Whether it be on Instagram, whether it be a teacher, it could be a dude from the block that he raising a business, and success isn't always financial. Some people say that, like, I can only learn from somebody that has money. Sometimes that is not how you equate success.
Lessons,
you know,
it's not all about money.
It's not
baby.
all about money, because sometimes the dude that don't have a meal can still tell you the path to getting there.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And people they need somebody older that's been there, done that, to like impart that with them. Because the way things is going, man, true.
Crazy.
It's looking crazy.
I'm going through with my son. He's 17, right? This motherfucker thinks he knows it all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Aaron, I was fucking 17 once, papi. Before you go through the heartache and the headache, listen to me.
Yep.
You don't have to take the path, but just listen and decide whether you want to be a knucklehead or not.
Yeah.
And he's a good kid. Good kid. Don't smoke weed. Don't use drugs. It's just stupid shit, though.
Yeah,
Like,
word.
I don't want to put his business out there. Bro.
Yeah.
But like he was saying, though, everything's so easily accessible.
good kid.
Information, stuff like that. So it's like, why do I gotta listen to you and take heed to what you're saying when I could go just look at? But there's something to be said for firsthand knowledge and firsthand experience. This person has the experience. This person did this, and this person failed at what they did. So what does that mean for me? That means if I do that, I'm probably gonna fail too. So that's what you were saying. Don't learn from your own mistakes. Don't make any mistakes. Learn from some mistake that someone else. Because most likely it's going to turn out the same way for you.
And you know what it is too? I feel like we live in a era of just instant gratification. And a lot of people don't understand that there's bigger agendas at play. So when they see certain things, right, the end result is always glorified. The end result. Once you made it and you on the red carpet, once you at the Grammys, once you're friends with this celebrity, but they don't understand what it takes to get there. You know what I'm saying? Like 50, people look at 50 a certain way, but you don't realize how smart he is and how much business acumen, he has, and like you will never know that unless you meet him.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, so you do gotta be smart in order to get to these things, you know? And it's not always
not that 15
book smart from school. Sometimes it's just
lesson.
Knowledge that you can learn through
life lessons.
You know
other people.
You know what it's called? It's called practical intelligence. It's making the right decisions at the right time.
Yeah.
Like I'll give you an example, like Mark Wahlberg, right? He had a decision to make at one time. He had a manager, a very popular manager, very powerful manager, who was with a very powerful management group. They split.
Okay.
So now, Mark Wahlberg had to make the decision. Do I go with the management company or do I go with the manager? That's not something a book can teach you. A decision like that at that time in your life, this is where you have to possess practical intelligence, have the foresight to say, you know what? I think in a few years this manager is going to be more successful, and he has that.
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg has that practical intelligence more than like a lot of people.
Yeah.
The way he markets it, 52.
Yeah.
You gotta have that practical intelligence because it's that one, you know, and try to learn as much as you can, because we were talking about education. Education, it doesn't mean everything, but what it is when you You know, people say we're a product of our environments. I think we're more a product of our experiences and also our decisions.
Yes.
Okay? We're a product of the decisions we make. Now, when you go to school and you educate yourself, you're more and better well informed. Therefore, you're going to make better decisions. And that's going to lead and yield better results at the end.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I love it,
But that's
man.
great, you know.
I love
So let me ask you a question. Obviously, the pandemic happened in 2000, and it like literally turned the world upside down.
Yeah.
And in the acting business as well.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So
Yep.
now, back in the day, I know you know, like when you have an agent, a manager, so they book you for an audition for, you know, say whatever. So now, back in the day, you would get the script, you would get the sides, you'd learn your role, and then with the audition, you'd actually, you'd be in the room.
Yep.
You'd get in the room, and it'd be set up like this. They'd have, you know, cameras and whatever, and you'd have the casting director, you'd have the director. That was an advantage in itself because you're actually getting in the room. But now, it's more about self-taping and stuff
Yep.
like that. So my
Changed.
question to you is, what do you feel benefits you more? What did you like doing better? Did you actually like being in the room, or do you like the self-tape?
I like being in the room. I like being in the room because it's just more of a hands-on experience, you know? I feel like with the self-tapes, an actor can 30, 40 takes to get it right and submit the best one.
Yeah.
But in the room, it's like, that first one got to hit. And if
Hold
that
on.
first
See,
one
that's
don't
the
hit,
thing.
it's
Being
bye-bye.
in the room is auditioning live.
Yeah.
Auditioning, yeah,
You guys
in the
are
room
the
with that
actors.
sound.
You gotta
Right.
feel.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying the pandemic,
no.
COVID,
It
changed
changed it.
everything.
Yeah, it
turned
changed
So
it.
what?
everything
It
upside.
was send videos in type shit.
Well, now, yeah.
Yeah, that's how
I got
it is
one,
now.
I got one later on tonight.
Okay.
Okay, what you do first is you do a slate. Hi, Lillo Brancato, I'm 5'8", blah, blah, blah. And I currently reside in Yonkers, New York. So then that's...
Refill.
Yeah, that's the slate. And then you do the scenes. I think there's advantages and disadvantages in both ways. Like, okay, so like, say you're preparing for this audition, right? It's a big one, right? It's a big one. So, you know, you're in the mirror, like reading your lines. And for some reason, like, you know, when you're home, obviously there's no pressure because it's you and you're doing it. But sometimes, man, like, you know, yeah, like with everything else and anything else, you got good days and bad days. And some days you're so prepared, but then when you walk in the room, you see everyone, it's like, oh my, and you can't pull it off. But then there's sometimes, but you know what?
Easy.
But you know what the advantage is too, though?
Yeah.
Sometimes you may fuck up the audition. It sucked. But they see something in
Yeah,
you.
something else.
Even when you said, hey, how you doing? That's a nice hat, by the way. They're like, wow, I like this guy. Just off that, you could have tanked. They've been playing. You ever go to an audition where maybe the read wasn't that good, the reading wasn't that good, but they chase you out? Like, when you're leaving, hey, Mark, come
Yeah,
back.
we got something else.
So that that never really happened, but it kind of has in a way. So the reason why I like, dang, I sat up. You see how I got excited?
You got excited.
The reason why I like in-person auditions is because I get to talk to the creative. You know, like as
They get
an
to feel
actor-
you, no homo.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? They
As,
like
as an
that
actor,
pain.
like I'm a creative too. My job is, as a professional, is to bring these characters to life and do it in a way where there's still that touch of me, my vision, my understanding of it. So when I go into the room, after I read the script, like I have an idea of the creative world that this stands in. So I'll ask casting if the director's not there. Hey, so I realized like the character seems like he has an arc like this. Like for Power, for instance, when I went in, I asked Christine Croman, the casting director, I was like, I feel like there was a scene that did not make it in the actual show, but it was an audition scene where my character was barking on the dudes that like that worked for him, was under him. And I was like, I feel like I can play this two ways. It seems like you guys want him to be very aggressive and in your face with this, but I kind of see him keeping his power. I don't see him as having to do that because these are dudes he grew up with and understands him. And like, these are his friends outside of this because they all from the same hood. So she was like, that's interesting. Let's see that. You know? And like, if it was a self-tape, I would never have shared that. I would have had to choose between the way I see it and the way that it was written in the scene. So like there's a movie I did called Nerve with Emma Roberts and Dave Franco. It was a Lionsgate film. I shot it in 2016, and I got the audition like 3 hours before the in-person casting, and I remember just like building a character. I was walking around in the city as the character. I barely knew the lines. I'm like, because I always focus on characters. So I go in, I perform. The directors are like loving the performance, but I'm not really paying much attention to them. I leave, and then I'm like, how did that go? Like, I don't even know how that went. All right, whatever. On to the next one. I get a call literally 20 minutes out the room. Marc John, they love you. They're really interested in you playing the character. Like, it's down to you and somebody else. They're trying to decide if they're going to have a callback tomorrow to see you guys again. And I remember saying to myself, oh, if it's a callback, I'm booking this. Yeah. It's a wrap. Like, this is mine. Because I didn't even feel too comfortable in the dialogue. Mm-hmm. Like, I was comfortable in my character, but the dialogue. Lo and behold, callback happens tomorrow. Go in 20, 30 minutes after leaving and get the call. Hey, so you're going to be playing Wes in Nerve. And I just think it's those kind of things that, you know, you don't really get. Kind of what you in self-tape. Blue Bloods. I had to audition for Blue Bloods so many times. And one day, like, the producers knew who I am because one of the producers had worked on, I think it was Homicide, Life on the Street, a show that I was on when I was younger. And I went in for the producer session, and I had to read, and he was just like, Marc John, I've been looking for this thing all day from this character. I feel like a lot of actors are just coming in and they're just performing it where it's so serious and it's so heavy and it just seems like the world is going to end for your character because they're making an assumption that because he's being interrogated that he's like, he feels guilty. I want to see something else. I was like, I got you, right? And I took the spin on the character and I talk to my students all the time about this, about the way in. And I took the spin on the character. I'm like, all right, I run this organization and I had the kids in the homeless shelter stealing for me. And I was like the mastermind behind it because I'm like some well-educated dude and I got these kids from the streets running around, robbing people, breaking into buildings and all this. I'm like, it's a public servant. You're not smart. You think you got something because what? Because you think it was me? Like, you got to prove it, right? So I just now took the angle of seeing the character as having all the control in the scene. I'm not threatened by you, officer.
Cocky?
Kind of cocky. Yeah, kind of cocky. Like, I'm not threatened by you, officer. You got evidence? You got... What, did one of the kids tell you? Right? So I just took that angle and they were like, we love that. More of that. Can you do it? Can you do it? But like more. And I'm like, all right, I got you.
Well, the way you're dissecting these scenes and stuff like that tells me that you would be a good writer.
I appreciate it.
Do you do any writing?
I try. But...
What do you mean?
I don't have the patience for writing. Like, I sit down and I'll start... You know what it is? The way my brain is set up, I always see so many different angles and ends. So when I try to narrow down on the idea in writing, as I'm writing it, it's taking form in so many ways, and then it starts getting like so convoluted, and then before you know it, it's a completely different story. And I'm like, I'm gonna go play basketball.
All right, what's good with HBO though? Why you not on Game of Thrones? Why you not? You rock with them with HBO? Because I would love to see you on there.
I like HBO. I think HBO does some good, well-grounded like
they the shit. And I could see you on it because they the shit, and you well-grounded.
HBO and I, we almost had a project that we worked together on. Doom Patrol. I was in the mix to play Victor Cyborg on Doom Patrol, and then things happened. But HBO is dope. I like HBO. I like the stories they tell. I like Apple.
Yeah, Apple got some
I like
shit.
Apple. A lot of people don't really care for their shows, but as far as like the complexity of storytelling, they be hitting the mark.
The blind dudes that they was going to war.
See, with Jason Momoa, yeah.
It wasn't the wrestler Batista in one of them shits. It was like it was like some old school shit. They're like Vikings and shit. And everybody's blind. They're going to war blind.
That's C.
Yeah.
That's C. With dude that played
No, that
Aquaman.
was the dude from Aquaman. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
But wasn't Batista going against him? That was his brother or some shit like that, right?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I watched the
he was
first
the kid's uncle.
season of it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Yo,
I tried to get into the second one, but I was like, I don't know. I don't know what happened to it. But it was lovely.
It was
That's my
smooth.
shit.
Yeah.
I fuck with them.
I know you were in the Notorious as Little C's.
Yo.
Did you ever get a chance to meet the Notorious B.I.G.?
Nah.
Never got to meet him, right?
Nah. I made the mistake of going in the audition. He asked me, Biggie or Tupac? I said Tupac.
Jeez.
Did you?
In the audition, because I had never.
Yeah.
So I didn't even finish that, right? So when I did Get Rich or Die Tryin', I got the audition. I go in, and all the dudes in the waiting area. You know how it is when you audition. It's all the other actors that are going up against you. We all sitting in the waiting area, and I walk in the room, and that's my song. And the director, Jim Sheridan, this little old Irish dude, he's sitting behind the camera and he's just watching like this. So I'm in the middle of the scene performing with the reader, and he says, I want you to act like you saw Slim. And I'm like, I'm saying in it, I never acknowledge him, I'm just doing what he says. He said, now look him up and down, and I want the anger in you to start growing. So I'm doing that. He says, follow him. He's walking out of the room. So he tells the reader to like walk out of the room. He's like, follow him. So now mind you, they had the camera that they were filming the actual auditions on, and then Jim had his own personal camcorder. So I start following the reader, and Jim is walking out behind me. So I come out, everybody that's waiting to audition, they're out there. My dad is out there. So he's like, yo, how'd it go? I'm like, I'm still the same. And then he's like, oh. So he sit back down. And then I follow him. And he was like, and I want you to approach him, and you're about to tell him that you know he killed your mom. So I walk up to the reader, and I'm about to say it. He says, okay, cut. Thank you for coming, everybody. We found our little 50. Wow. Right? Just like that in the audition room. Wow. And then I heard nothing for 3-4 months. It was ghosts. After that, my agent, how did it go? I told him what happened. Told him Jim stopped the audition session right there. Did not see anybody else. Told everybody, thank you for coming. Go home. We found out 50. In 3-4 months, nothing. Right? So at the time, I used to be at Eddie Murphy's house a lot. His son was like my best friend.
Oh, wow.
And I was with them when I got the call that I would be playing 50. And I was like, yo, I'm, doing a new movie, playing this guy. It's in a band called 50 Cent. He's like,
band.
What, nigga?
Yeah, he's a guitar.
And I was just like, a band 50, you talking about 50 Cent the rapper?
Yeah.
And I'm like, does he rap? I don't know. There's a guy called 50 Cent. And he was like, you talking about him? And he put on a song. He like, that's a rapper, nigga. I didn't know who 50 was. No. And then after that, I'm like, oh. Okay. Biggie Small with Notorious, same thing, audition for Notorious. I went in, it was 2 parts of the audition. It was the scripted part, and then it was the dance. I had to like dance. And I went in, I danced, got feedback. I go in for the next one. Director, George Tillman, he's like, no, it was either George or it was Wayne Barrow, which was like one of 50's producers. I mean, Biggie's producers. He's like, yo, you can act your butt off, but you got the rhythm of a white boy. So on the block, it was one of my friend's sisters. She was a dancer. She did like double dutch and all of that. She could dance. So I hired her. I'm like, teach me some rhythm. Teach me how to, because on my callback, I got to do another dance. So I used to go to her crib. She was teaching me how to dance. Shout out to Demisha. I'll never forget you. And she teaching me like dance. And yo, the song that I even went in and performed to was Lil Bow Wow. That song, Lil Bow Wow, you just don't know. You know, I chose that song because I auditioned for Honey. And when I auditioned for Honey, I chose that song as this. So I'm like, yo, I'm gonna stick to something that I know.
Your parents
so she taught me, I went back in, and there's like, Biggie or Tupac. I was like, Tupac. I don't know. Tupac. Not even knowing. Not even know. Because you know back then, you know how sometimes you audition for joints and they don't tell you what it's about. They don't tell you it's the notorious.
Yeah.
They don't tell you that.
Yeah.
So I just went in knowing that I had this audition. It was for some kind of music-based project. I had to perform a song, rap a song, dance to a song, and do the scripted scene. Yeah. So like, the dance I did was the Lil Romeo joint with the Lil Bow Wow joint. I also rapped that. When I had to do the callback, I went in and I murdered Juicy.
Okay.
I chose that to rap, but I forgot the lyrics. I was like, it was terrible, dog.
It was a hot mess.
Terrible. Yeah. Terrible.
So obviously this industry with acting and you know, it's feast or famine, right?
Mm-hmm.
You may work 2, 3, 4 months, and you know you're on the top of the world, and then you don't get work.
Yep.
Right? You don't get work for 6 months.
Yeah.
Do you get depressed when that happens? And if so, how do you deal with it? And what do you do to consume, like to pass the time, to keep busy during those months?
Nah, I don't get depressed. You know, sorry. Jehovah God has blessed me with many things and many talents. And one thing the Bible tells us is to diversify. You know, people think that comes from these stock market gurus and geniuses. The Bible tells us to diversify in 7 or 8 different ways. That's in the scriptures. So acting is not who Marc John is. Marc John is just a person who acts. And I feel like when you build your identity around this one thing, you need that thing in order to fulfill you. You know, so I have family, I have friends, I'm an avid reader, real estate, different entrepreneurship endeavors. I got something cooking up right now.
That's very smart, because you know, I'm sure, like, you know, it's like I deal with it too. Like you see people, right? And it's not like, you're not even like a human, right? Because they know you as an actor, and they treat you as nice as what films you have coming out. So you know, like, right, if somebody really gives a fuck about you, right? You grew up with somebody, you haven't seen somebody, and they ask you, hey, Mark, any more movies? You know that person don't really give a fuck. Because if that person gave a fuck, they would say, hey, Mark, how's your family? Are you happy? What's going on? But they don't realize, like, oh, any more movies? Like, bro, there's so much more to this
absolutely.
world.
There's more to life.
How we just said, you know, there's so much more to this life than just movies.
Than just acting.
He's a person that acts. That's you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that was beautifully said.
I appreciate it.
You know, it really was.
I appreciate it.
Diversify this, so you can't put all your eggs in that basket.
Marc John.
Or you drive yourself nuts.
You drive yourself nuts.
Marc John.
And one of the best things to do when you're not working, and this is for everybody, not even actor, everybody that is achieving something, going after something, the Bible again tells us that there's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving. So like when I have downtime, I give back. I go into schools, I speak to kids. I have acting programs in high schools in like Brooklyn and the Bronx and things like that where I teach them acting. I bring them to set if I'm working on something, and sometimes I get them casted in certain things. So I mean, you got to, in that downtime, it could hit you. It could be like, dang, you know, I was in this and now it's 2-3 months and nothing, you know, like nothing has happened. But that's the life of an actor. We're unemployed when we're not shooting a project. I don't care how big you are. I don't care if you Denzel Washington.
How did you meet Eddie Murphy?
On Haunted Mansion.
Oh, yeah.
On Haunted Mansion. He played my pops.
How was he to work with?
Oh, man. Eddie is one of my most memorable mentors. Like, at the time, I did stand-up comedy. Eddie used to come to all of my shows. He critiqued my writing, everything. He used to come out and support me. I practically lived with his family for about 2 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. And Eddie is another dude who's just a gem. You know, he's just one of those people like 50 that will share what they know with you. That'll make sure you understand. That'll take you under the wing and be like, this is what this is. I remember, so Eddie scolded me one day because at his house, I used to see everybody. Yo, when I say everybody, Lillo, you're talking about, I would come downstairs from playing the game with Miles and the girls, and Will will be in the living room with Martin, with Well, Sylvester Stallone, I never saw at Ed's house, but Ed used to go to like watch the game. Sugar Ray Leonard, Paul Mooney, Rick James,
Wow.
Chris Rock, all of them would just be downstairs chilling. And one day I got an audition. Damon Wayans was directing Homie the Clown. It was either Damon or Keenan. And Keenan was just at Eddie's house like 2 days ago. So I had the audition and I went to Eddie and I was like, hey, Mr. Murphy, you know, I got this audition for Homie the Clown. Mr. Wayans is directing it. He was just here, you know, could you put in a word for me? Oh my goodness. Why did I say that? You don't need me to put in a word for you? How you get where you got right now? You worked for it, right? Everything you have and everything you work for is yours and nobody can take that from you. But the thing that somebody gives you, somebody can take it back. I'm not putting in no word. Now get out of my little face and go, get your little butt out of my face and go play with Miles. This is Eddie. They pretty much told me that's not how you get where you're trying to go. Mm-hmm. That nepotism, favors, you know this person.
Because you
never want it that way.
No one can take it away from you, you know?
Nobody can take it away. You know, and even if you never get even if you never get something again, nobody can take away the pride in the fact that you got it yourself with your own work that first time. Due to God's blessing, but that you got it yourself that first time. Yeah. You know, so it's like, if I got my first role because you gave it to me, because we're friends, that means that everything else that I get is due to you. Right. So if we have a falling out, if you switch up, if you have somebody else that becomes your friend, that goes away. But if I have the talent, even if you don't want to work with me anymore, other people are going to see that.
Well, yeah, because the cream always rises to the top. Amen. That talent will once again get noticed. Yeah. If you're talented, it's always going to show. Yep. You know, I worked with Eddie Murphy. You remember that the film Adventures of Pluto Nash?
Yeah, definitely.
It was like if you look on a list of Eddie Murphy's movies and you rank the best and then the worst, Pluto Nash is the worst. Ranked as the worst movie he ever did, and that's the one I got to work with him on. Yeah. It was my 25th birthday. We're in LA. Yeah. It was with Burt Young, Jay Moore, the comedian. So Eddie Murphy comes out, and I said, "Hey, Mr. Murphy, how you doing?" He went, "Eddie." I said, "All right, no problem." Yep. But he's funny. It was, it's my 25th birthday. It was literally right before 9/11. Okay. It was August 30th, 2001. Dang. And I was working, that's my birthday, but I was, obviously, I got my birthday. My gift was to work with a legend such as Eddie Murphy. Yeah. Obviously, coming up in the acting industry, 20 years ago is much different than today because of things we spoke about with the self-tape and being in the room and stuff. What advice would you give to an actor coming up today?
Focus on your craft. I feel like because there's so many ways that you can find your way in, like, people are seeing people on social media become actors and names and taking their audience from social media and being able to transfer and get into TV and film because of it, that people who want to act start at the wrong place, And for me, I say always be focused on longevity. And when you look at people that have a career, that have been in it for more than a 5-10 year span, they're ones that actually understand and fall in love with the craft itself. And if you focus on that, the results are always gonna present themselves, Also be somebody that can listen. A lot of people think because I know this technique or, because I've done this show or that show that I'm beyond learning. You can learn something from everybody on set. From anybody and everybody, regardless of what they do.
My thing is,
always be open to learning.
I don't think you could ever stop learning. You can learn at 53.
Well, everyone has the ability to learn at any age, but some people can't stop learning because they stop looking to learn. Yeah. Learning is something that you have to pursue. It's something that you have to be open to.
You gotta chase learning.
It doesn't just happen.
Yeah. You gotta look for it.
The way you further develop in life is by learning new things. Yeah. This is how we develop. I learned something new. So based on this new knowledge that I have, I'm going to do this different than I used to because the results I yielded weren't good. Now that I have, and now that I know better, and it's just the way it goes. It's a domino effect. Yeah. But unfortunately, with the acting, a lot of it has to do with it's a business. So you have to know how to play that side of it as well. Yeah. Focusing on the craft is definitely very important because that's. And
I feel like one, big shout out to all of the social media influencers who have been able to take their brand and leverage it and get into other facets of business, especially acting. A lot of actors are intimidated by them or a little upset that that's the way it's going now. And, back in my day, you didn't. But I think it's always a great thing that a self-made person is able to make that transition and get into a lane that's professional, because they don't have that engine behind them. It's just their own creativity. And I say to all of the social media influencers, find ways to be different and keep evolving what you have. You are a content creator. Understand that responsibility through and through and realize that outside from the one-on skits, you can be creating characters, consistencies for yourself. You could be creating I ain't gonna get that idea actually.
All right,
I'm not gonna get that idea. But you could be creating beyond that and just keep looking to grow. For the actors, out there, I would say you have to be realistic within yourself of what's possible and for you to play. I think a lot of times everybody wants to be the leading man. Everybody wants to be the leading female.
Nobody want to be a team player.
But nobody want to be the team player. Yeah. Nobody wants to be the J.R. Smith.
Yeah, I'll be fucking J.R. I'll be Josh Hart. I'm cool being Josh Hart.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to be that person. They all want the leading role, and it's you have to realize that this is still a business, and a business works in certain ways.
Absolutely.
And if you are not necessarily fit physically to be the leading man or the leading woman in a project, it does not mean that you're not fit to be a working actor. You know what I'm saying? But until you understand that and you embrace that, you're going to be throwing darts at the wrong board, and you may never stick because of that.
Very well said.
So you got to be egoless and say, maybe I'm not the lead male next door that take his shirt off and the women fall in love with. Maybe I'm the cop that is in the scene and supports Batman. Yeah. But and I'm still in the MCU.
Right.
Well, the DCU.
Yeah.
My fault. My bad, Marvel.
Yeah, a lot of people
fan. You know what's a perfect example of that? That movie. It was Taye Diggs, The Best Man.
Okay, yeah.
There was a lot of ego involved in that movie. There was some big guns. You never seen The Best Man?
Oh, you talking about with Terrence Howard?
Yeah, there was a lot of big names in that. All the girls, the guys. Yeah, bro, and they made it work, bro.
Fight Night.
Yeah.
With Kevin Hart and Sam Jackson and Don Cheadle and that joint.
Man,
you know what I'm saying?
Egos involved.
A lot.
You gotta put that shit in the back seat and make history and make the fans yo, I love these people. Yeah. They on it. You know what I mean?
Fall in love with telling the story, not the fame of it. People chase the fame of it. That's just a byproduct of you work in your job, your professional employment happens to be something that people get to see what you do. But fall in love with the process of doing the job and telling the story. And that helps remove all of the ego. But when you doing this movie and your first idea is I'm gonna be on People magazine if I do this. Yeah, that's you performing from the wrong place. You in it for the wrong reasons.
Well, it's you love what it can give you, the fame and all of that. But when you really love what you do, and you have a story that's in here, and then you start putting it on paper, like you said, that's a process. Yeah, there's a process. Life is a process. You know what I mean? We see shit happen so bad, but it's God is processing us to what where we're going to eventually be. This is part of it. And that's part of that too. When you enjoy the actual process, you know what I mean? It's going to show. It's going to show in the final product. But when you're chasing, like he said, the fame, things that bring us and give us instant gratification seldom lead to long-term happiness. Like you were saying, you got to think of long-term. I want to do something now that I love and something that I'm passionate about, and it'll show. And you just keep doing that, and eventually, hopefully you'll amount to something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yep. And then not always. Yeah. And sometimes you can work so hard. It's a tough business.
Ain't nothing wrong being a head coach.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole thing. Play your position.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not a lead guy.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not. Maybe you're maybe you're a little big. They don't want you as the lead
Maybe
guy.
you're a fucking
Even though Tony
director.
Soprano was a little big, you know what I mean? But he was a great lead guy. Just play your position. You're not a shortstop. You're an outfielder. So get out there and play outfield.
Yeah.
That's the problem. A lot of people, they don't play their position. But like I see some of these movies, and you get like these smaller little parts. For me, sometimes those are the best parts.
Yeah.
Because they're not in your face, and then they steal the movie.
Yep.
They coming in at the right times, like De Niro in fucking The Untouchables. He had a little part, but he was tremendous in that, and he stole the movie from me. Angel Heart, De Niro, when he played the devil. You know what I mean? I know I've used him, 2 examples, but it's.
Yeah. Yep.
What's next? What's next for Marc John? Any cologne? I think that's a nice cologne, by the way. Marc John? What are you wearing, that Marc John?
Yeah, that dude's so smooth.
Yeah, smooth as fuck. What are you, nuts? Like, that shit is it. I'll be a fucking model. I'll vouch for you all day. Just give me a sample.
I got you.
I'll go bananas. Marc John. What are you wearing, Loopy? Marc John. Like, we gonna make that name is famous.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Marc John. Yeah, so, anything, like, what's next for you?
So I got a couple of projects coming out. One, Between Friends. It should be out next year. I have a docu-series that I produced that is dropping next year called Trust the Lords. Another project called Karma with Trey Chaney and Erica Pinkett. That should be dropping next year. Fells High with Amari Hardwick. That's dropping next year. So
You've been busy then.
couple of things that I'm pinned to that I can't really speak about right now, but
You're busy.
yeah.
How about Jersey? You
Working.
do any more Jersey with Alonzo?
Nah. He hasn't reached out to
What
me.
happened? I'm just messing with you. No, we were at the. What happened? He does such great work, that guy. Listen, I'll do it for you.
Alonzo, I love what he's doing, right? He's making something out of nothing. And he's looking to grow and expand and do better. But sometimes, you work with somebody and you realize that what we have done together is good enough for me right now. So
Damn.
maybe somewhere down the line, but as of right now, he's still on that journey of creating and getting into more, and I wish him well on that. And somewhere down the line, we might work together again.
Okay, so what you were saying. No. Okay, let me get this though. Because this is something that I experienced, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's what you said, but sometimes you get like these new filmmakers. He may be happy with this product because he hasn't evolved.
Yeah.
We've evolved to where it's like, and you want to be like a good guy, you want to be humble and say, even though this is not a huge movie or something that I'm used to doing,
Yeah.
I like the material, I like the character. But I think for a filmmaker and someone making these films, there's almost an obligation and a responsibility to us. Because we're a brand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know we're,
that's a fact.
not to say I'm at this level,
No,
you're at this
absolutely,
level.
it doesn't
No,
matter.
no, no.
Not
That's
saying
not
I'm
the-
better than you, but in my career, I'm at this level
Yeah.
because I've worked with these people and I've been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
You've only done it to here. But sometimes I feel like these people that, I work with, it's not that they don't have they don't have respect. It's not that they don't have respect, because that's not what it is. It's more about they don't do us and our brands justice, because we've already got past that part of putting it on social media and a couple people. We want to make a good product. And for a lot of these younger filmmakers, they don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah.
They don't. They just want to make something. Whether it's good or not, the effort itself is enough to them.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not enough to me, bro. I've been doing this for 30 years.
So-
you got to cast me in a better light than this.
So I like that you said that. What I've learned is that it takes a team to do everything, right? And in the NBA, I'm an NBA guy. I love watching NBA basketball. You realize that the star player leaves the team when the team's direction and their goals do not align with his own. We're doing another rebuild. This is our second rebuild in the last 5 years.
I'm out of here.
I want to trade, right? Because your goal doesn't align with mine. It's important when you're as a filmmaker, as an actor, to understand what the goal is for certain people. Certain people pick up entertainment as a means to an end, to make money, right? And when you do that, The goal is just making money. So if I take 30 grand and I turn it into 150, I'm successful. I don't care how it looks. I don't care if the sound is right. I don't care about none of that. I made a film and I quadrupled my profit.
Yeah,
I quadrupled my investment. And that's good for certain people. As an actor, when your goal is to make work that is on a certain level and you could be proud of, if that is not the goal of the filmmaker, then you guys are going to have a disconnect somewhere down the line.
And that usually is not the goal.
With certain
Does that
people,
mean live
it's
forever
usually-
type shit?
He's
Live
a
forever?
name. He's a somebody, okay? They want to be able to say, oh yeah, you know that guy from the Biggie movie?
We had him in it?
Yeah, he's
Oh,
in
wow.
the movie.
Oh,
But
wow.
are you really doing the right thing by him?
Yeah.
Are you really creating something that he's going to be able to shine from and something that he's going to be proud of?
Sheesh.
A lot of times that's not right or wrong. It's not the case.
A lot of
we
times-
watched, you know them, I'm not going to name the movie. Remember we had the screening?
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
piece of shit.
Yeah.
And like this, you have no consider. Like, we're there. We've done this. We want to help you. We see you're aspiring. You're coming up, and we want to give the young filmmaker a shot. Not that I'm.
And see, and that's and even that, right? Like, and that's why I feel like that's why I realize that responsibility falls on me. It's a lot of A-listers that did like bad movies, right? That did horrible movies where it's like the story is no good, bro.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, sorry, Lillo, Pluto Nash,
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy. Like, I remember I asked to watch it at his house one day, and Miles was like, "Don't ask to watch that." I'm like, "Why not?" He don't like that. He don't like how it came out. Like,
Oh, wow.
right? So,
yo.
but there's certain there's certain people that we look at. It's like, why did you do that movie? Samuel L. Jackson with Lakeview Terrace. Why did you do that movie? Sometimes the responsibility falls on the actor to be able to say no. What I realize, and you realize this too, I helped you already. I said yes to the first two because I realized you were a person that was trying to do something different. You wanted experience. You wanted veterans on the set. You wanted people that knew how. You wanted to draw. Cool, let's do it, right? But I now know what you're about. You want to make bread. I get that. I see that. Cool. Can I say no?
Yes.
And some people can't say no. You know, some people they can't say no. They're just going to say yes and then say, well, you know, that was that project. That was his. But for me, I'm like, all right, I realize that your goal is making bread. We're now associated with each other. I've done you 2 solids.
Yeah, that's
So now on this next one, you don't need me anymore. This is your goal. You've done these projects. You could say you had Lillo in it. You could say you had Marc in it. You could say you work with actors that have been around and have done this and that. You can say that and get other people that goal, it aligns with them. You know what I'm saying? So he's a dude from Newark, former cop.
What, the guy we're talking about?
Yeah.
Alonzo.
Yeah. Dude from
No,
Newark.
I appreciate his
former
effort.
cop.
Don't get me wrong.
No,
I'm not knocking
100%.
the guy because a lot of people talk about doing it, but he makes it happen.
He makes it happen.
So I respect that right off the rip.
And that's the thing. I feel like, and I think this is the thing being from the streets. You recognize hustle, and I'll never not hustle. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll never not hustle. It's like when the pandemic was hitting, dudes was cut PPP. Yo, I know your credit is fire, right? You trying to get the government. I'm like, nah, bro.
Yeah,
but,
I'm good.
Yo, you know anybody that? Nah, bro,
I'm
but do
good.
your thing. You
I'm
know what I'm
good.
saying?
Do you.
And it's because I recognize the hustle. When you don't align with the hustle, you gotta just take the side step and support in the ways you can.
Especially that hustle.
Yeah, he has a couple of projects coming out that I went to the screenings and I still show love and you find different ways to support.
Yeah,
but,
wow.
And I would say, based on what Lillo was saying, this is my thing to actors up and coming, already established, kind of what I was just talking about. Like, you gotta know what you want to do and kind of have your own moral code and how you want to navigate and be able to pay attention to certain things and know when it's time to say no. A lot of people can't say no.
Yeah.
You know, they'll say yes to a role with nudity and then be complaining about how they wasn't treated right and it's like, but you said yes to it. You agreed to it. You know, even some of the actors with the whole the strike thing with SAG, it's like people coming out, my residuals and blah 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 blah, and
you say yes to it.
I only got paid this, and it's like, but you said yes. You agreed to it.
You signed to that, yeah.
Yeah, you agreed to it. So how you going to complain after the fact? Yo, you didn't pay me enough.
What was your mindset for that when that whole thing was going on?
I understood both sides.
Okay.
I didn't vote at all. I understood both sides because I feel like there's certain people that had legitimate viewpoints when it came to it. But then I feel like there were other bandwagon riders who just like saw an opportunity to complain. A lot of people like to complain.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if I'm starting a company and I got $1,000 and I say, yo, I need you to do my graphics, I'm gonna pay you $100, and you agree to it. If I now go on and make $1 million with that company, how you gonna come back? Yo, you didn't pay me enough. I had $1,000 budget to start, bro.
Yeah. They're gonna be on DJ Vlad.
If you want to take part in the results of the success, become an investor.
Yeah.
Don't be an employee. That's just how business works.
So
people work at McDonald's, $17.50 an hour minimum wage. McDonald's is making multi-million dollars a year.
Yeah.
Do
no
they
complaining.
get PCs and the fact that because that's what you agreed to.
They don't even complain either.
You know what I'm saying?
They know what they signed up
If you
for.
want a piece of what it's making year to year, invest in some stock. You got to change the way you play the game.
So let me ask you a question. I mean, obviously it's a concern for you, concern for me, for any actor, just anything, like even extras, background. How do you feel about the advent of artificial intelligence and what it can do to our jobs?
Yeah, I would say that I'm not educated enough in that area to make a confident statement in how I feel, but the ignorant side of me wants to say I'm not too worried about it, just because AI can only take what people have already done and find new ways to like mix and match it. It can't create a new, So when it comes to real creativity, I don't think it could ever get to that point. I don't think it could ever create the subtleties that great actors can bring in a role.
Yeah, the nuances.
But when it comes to like, the discount bargain performances, I feel like it can keep up and have a certain level playing field with it, So, what I say to people is, don't be intimidated because you don't want to change or do work. That could be completely ignorant of me to say, but don't be intimidated because you don't want to change or do work. Because, all right, why you can't do something with AI? Why can't you get together with 4 or 5 of your actor friends? Every actor knows ADs, directors, a camera guy, a sound guy. We all know it. Why can't you create something and use AI to your advantage to where you changing the game? Because people don't want to do it. People don't really like change. So I'm not intimidated by it. I do feel like it's going to take jobs away from certain people just because we live in a society now where like people don't really care about quality as much anymore.
No.
Like our music shows that. Like people do not care about quality. So I do feel like there's going to be people that eat it up. But I don't necessarily feel like if you are a true creative and you don't mind a little bit of work that you should be too worried about it. It's a project now that I'm a part of, and we were supposed to have like a 4th reshoot. We did reshoots 3 times. We were supposed to have a 4th one, and the executive producer was like, no, we're just going to fix everything with AI. So I've already started to see the applications of it. But we'll see what happens.
So when you say that, Lillo, what do you mean specifically with AI? Because I'm not really too...
Well, like, you have all these background actors and stuff. They don't even need to have them back there anymore. They can AI it. They make a whole. They'll make a whole arena look film. Full.
Oh, so they don't need extras.
Yeah, well, that's what was that big strike, the big producer union strike. Like, why do we have to pay these actors when I can do this and not? You know what I mean? So it's like it's scary. It's scary for a lot. That's why you gotta
so
really diversify.
They could tone down a movie to like
in
3,
5
4
years. It's
type
gonna be
shit.
totally different.
Really,
not
that low,
like,
but I'm just saying like they could lower the expense.
Yeah, they can definitely lower the expense, especially in like the more independent projects, for sure, definitely. And like with the AI, with the background actors, one, I love background actors. I feel like they are some of the most thorough people on set. They show up, they be there before anybody get there, and they stay throughout the whole day. Most sets treat them like trash.
I was just gonna say,
treat
they
them
get
like they're
treated
not
like shit.
people.
They eat
You know,
bagels
like-
from the day before.
Yeah.
They're hard bagels.
Hard bagels.
Yeah, but it's
they
just-
gotta wait till everybody else eat. Like when lunch is served, all of the actors, principal photography eats, the crew eats, and then whatever's left over they get. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's wild, and I do feel like a lot of background actors are going to be impacted. I know there's a lot of people that like have a career in background acting and they happy with it. You know, and they made
benefits
it
from being in the union.
You get the benefits being in the
health
union, and they get paid, bro.
No,
They get paid. They walk away with some. Especially
I never
if you're a
looked at
sad
it like
background
that
actor.
though. I never looked at
Yeah.
that side of it.
Yeah, bro.
Background.
It takes everybody to make a move. The dude on the basketball team that suited up on the bench, he's still part of the team.
No, absolutely. Practice.
He's still important to the team.
Putting
You
his body
know,
on
the
the
towel
line,
boy, the
practice.
water boy. The
So
water
many
boy is
moving
just
parts.
important to the team as the assistant coach.
Everybody plays the
You know what I'm
ball.
saying? So like,
Absolutely.
You got so many moving parts on a movie. You got a
Yeah.
guy, you got a focus puller, you got the camera operator, you got grips, you got electricians, you got props, you got wardrobe, you got sound, you got everything.
Mm-hmm.
If one of those departments falls short, it's going to show.
Fucks everything.
Everybody
It affects
is
the
as
entire
important
job.
as everybody else.
Yeah.
Some
It
people
affects
get
everything.
paid more than others, but it doesn't mean that their importance is greater.
Yeah.
Everybody's just as important. If you could have everything great, but say the wardrobe sucks, you're not going to sell that character because he's not dressed in a way that's making him believable. Everything is just as important.
Yup.
You know?
Yup.
Marc John, it was a pleasure having you on the Culture Project, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate it, bro.
You a solid young man, because I'm
Thank
older
you.
than you.
Yup.
I'm what they call an OG now.
Yup.
It was a pleasure, man. I learned a lot from you.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from your parents, and they're not even here. Just the
Yeah.
way you act, and you're very mature, man. And
Appreciate
it's a
that.
pleasure. You carry yourself well. Man.
Look
Give
at brother.
you a hug, man. Oh, I'm sorry. That's all me right there.
It's
man.
all good.
I appreciate having you, my brother, man. BX Burrow, man.
All day.
Keep doing your
All day,
thing,
Thank you.
man.
It's good
My
seeing
brother,
you again.
great
Glad
seeing
we-
you,
Doing your
man.
thing, man.
Continued success.
Definitely.
You're absolutely
Same,
great, man.
same.
You got a great head on your shoulders.
Thanks,
And
man.
I'll take you really
You
far.
definitely need to
I
open up a
appreciate
school.
it.
And
Yeah.
You
Kudos-
definitely need to open up a
kudos
school.
to your
Yeah.
parents. They
I
did a great
appreciate
job.
that.
Man. Just keep your head the way you got it, and I have no doubt.
Very
you did
level-headed,
great.
man.
Good
Very
looking.
mature.
Good looking.
Stay away from
Appreciate y'all,
Alonzo.
man.
No more jerseys. Say no to Dykeman. Stay away from Dykeman. Say no to Dykeman. Hey, yo, Marky Mark. Say no to Dykeman, you heard? Say no to Alonzo. Yeah, La Marina. When y'all come back, we come back. No La Marina, no thick sand. We was that good.